I think we are good to start. Hope the recording works without interruption. I'm setting this aside, and looks like it seems to be working. Can you see it? Yes. And I can also see, and it is being visible to people who are going to see it online. Right now, nobody. Yes. One more quick check. Looks like it is showing. Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for coming here, and sorry for the trouble of change of location. We are probably not force another change, but probably for Fridays we may have to come here or some other location. Otherwise, we have the place and the dates. They are intact. There's not much change. I don't anticipate that. And thank you, Michael, for setting this up. This location is decent, beautiful, and smells good. Smells really good. And
You just call Michael.
Philip. Look at Philip and say Michael. This is just crazy. So thank you, Philip.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me that your name is not Michael.
We'll just keep calling you Michael and you'll have to change your name.
That works. That might just work. And it's just crazy. With so many people I get to meet, I think I should learn. I used to have a professor who used to, like, on day one, call everybody by their first name.
Some people are disgustingly good at that.
And this is just amazing. I cannot pull it off. Cannot.
Yeah.
That was in long time ago in University of Michigan. I go to the class first day, and he's looked at the directory, memorized everybody's first name with their pictures,
Wow.
and is able to, like. And these are people coming from all over the world, like international students, like come to universities, look at the directory and recognize Nilesh. How are you doing? He said, ha! And then I just like that professor so much, because he called my name, and now I know you hate me.
Yeah, people like it when you use their name.
Yes, indeed. And now I know Michael hates me.
Yeah, I'm very bad at names. It's taking a long time.
I know, yes. Yep. So how did we do up until now? And are we doing okay? The speed, momentum, direction, intensity. How is thumbs up, thumbs down? That's what I'm looking to quickly hear from you guys. Okay or not okay? Doing okay?
Good. Yeah.
Good. Useful.
For the most part.
So.
I have a lot of experience with a lot of the things we talked about so far.
Right. True. Correct. Yes. And that is. So today we'll focus on what we call platform as a service, like we talked about last time. And so, did you get a chance to review this right up here, or the thing that we will intend to do today with Heroku? Did this write up? Did you get a chance?
No, I didn't. What I did is just I got my environment ready. So I got Ruby up to date and
Hebrew is working.
And I already have a Heroku account.
So for Ruby to function on a remote computer like in Amazon, we would need to follow some setup instructions, right?
But I'm gonna just use mine. So
You'll use the Mac.
okay,
He'll
yeah.
use the Mac. But I think for you, Conrad, we'll need to help you with setup of Rails on that Ubuntu machine you have in the cloud, right?
Okay.
So we will follow along. Rails. I think it is gorails.com has a good write-up, and so we will follow that. Not here. Setup Rails, and that quick setup will help us set up what we need to do to make it run. And these are few steps, not two. And then the choice of either RV or RVM. We'll stick with the recommended choice of RV, ENV. Follow along to configure Rails, Ruby, and Git to get us the environment needed to make it work on our Ubuntu instance on the. So what I'm going to do now is put that link back in our stream in the classroom website, and that gives us a link to work on as we follow along these steps. is expected to take, yeah, I think 213 is recommended. So let's go with that. And from a remote computer, you need these dependencies, and then install RBE and V, and then install Ruby through that. That'll get us the Ruby and gems that we need for setup. You can grab the link from here, Conrad. Okay.
Let's see.
So this link is available on Classroom on the stream. I can make it bigger if you like. Oh, sorry, here. And this will also be true for Andrew's case, who's also using a remote workstation to set up Rails on your Ubuntu machine that will be remote in the Amazon cloud that you have. And for Nitin, I think he has a Windows box, right?
Yeah.
So Nitin, for Nitin, it will be the case of using a virtual machine that we gave, and that will already have this thing set up already to begin with. And so if you're using a trusty virtual machine I gave, use that. If you're on a Ubuntu workstation, you need Ruby first, which is this. And then you go along to set up your tool belt. And on Macintosh, I think two of you already are okay with this brew.sh, and your Heroku tool belt is already installed, so you're already at that point. So while Conrad is setting up this Ruby environment on the remote workstation, I think we will come back to Conrad while he does that. But I want to get started, at least both of you, with the next steps, which is, what do we do and how do we begin creating a simple application on Rails and hook it up with our account on Heroku. And that's the next step we will follow along, which is documented here. And so on the terminal, you would basically hook up your accounts, your login name for Heroku and your password with your Heroku tool belt.
So Heroku account add.
So I will also follow along so that I am with you on that. And what I want to do is, I'll come back there in just a minute. It'll be Heroku accounts :add, something like this. And when you do that, okay, it's a VM specific command. So I think it's just Heroku accounts. Heroku help. Heroku. They have changed it to auth. They've changed it to auth. Heroku auth. Login. They keep changing things. And now it'll let you log in with a credential and password. So I'll have to go grab my password. And that's what I'm doing right now, is grabbing a copy of my password and coming back to terminal and pasting it. And it should let me in. Yep, it succeeded. So the command is updated to this auth colon login. It basically gets me terminal access to Heroku. So Heroku commands, other commands should work now, and they will involve my keys or my certificates or add-ons, apps. So Heroku apps should give me a list of apps that I have. And yeah, I have several apps. And the Big B app we tried to create the other day, the last time we met. And once we have our Heroku account and with login credentials built in and authorized the tool belt with it, the next step would be to get our keys, our public and private keys, the key pair that we have created already. I think you have it. If not, let us create a key pair and give it to Heroku so that they will have it. And that would be Heroku keys will give us the list of keys that they have. So I have some old key there already. But what I want to do is delete my old key and walk you through setting up a new key. And so what I will do is go back to Heroku and I remove my keys so that we'll and clean up, delete my keys altogether, and then come back, fresh set of keys, and give that to Heroku so that all of us are together on the same page from a key perspective. So from manage account, somewhere we should have keys. Yeah. So here is this key that I have that I'm going to delete essentially. So I'm going to say delete the key, and now I don't have any key at all. So I'm going to save it. Now come back and say Heroku keys, and I should get nothing. You have no keys. And this is very similar to what you have right now is you do not have or may not have keys at all. And so even I do not have keys. Now in the past, we have tried to create key gen through SSH key gen command like this, if you remember. Are you with me? So if you don't have a key already, then you can create it like this. But I think you have it already. So you can look for your keys in a folder called cd ~/.ssh. In that folder, you should have a key pair already. And so let's list out what you have. I seem to have lots of keys, but you may have a couple of keys if you created some. And so I will be using one of these keys that I have that I like. And that's the key I want to use today. And you may have a different name for your keys, but essentially it's a key pair. There is a public and a private copy. So this is the private copy and a public copy. So I want to grab the public copy and take that entire public key like this, copy it over, go to Heroku, and give it to Heroku. Like just paste it essentially. And there it is. They have the key now. So now we can go back to home and say Heroku keys, and that will give us our key. And there it is. This is the same key that we just gave, and it showed up. So back to what Conrad was doing, I think you're running through this setup process on your workstation. So I want to quickly check with you. How are you doing?
Finished.
I the sudo apt get finished, right?
Yeah, there's a long still after.
Yeah, it's a long process. Downloads decent machine in the cloud. It should be quick. Should not take long.
So mine added.
You can actually project. You can say click on the drop down and project, so all of us can see. Click on drop down, say air, and it will project. Okay. You have to join the Cloud Genius network. You have to be on my Wi-Fi to project.
Oh.
So the Cloud Genius Wi-Fi has a password of Cloud Genius.
Is everyone join the Cloud Genius?
You can, and you can just switch the Wi-Fi to Cloud Genius and then connect and project.
Password.
Cloud Genius. One word. It's very simple. Like in Lake Washington, we use the Lake Washington Wi-Fi, all of us, because there is no wired connection. So now here we have a wired connection. We have a private LAN just for us. And so the password is Cloud Genius, and you can project. And there you are projecting. And it is way too small.
Yeah, so.
But go ahead.
So what I did is I go in and delete the key.
The old keys?
Yeah, hold on. So I delete it. Now I add a new one from whatever I have.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go back and I run the Roku key, it's not there.
Mm-hmm. Can you
make it bigger?
Yeah, make it bigger by pressing Command, Shift, and plus sign. Sweet. So,
maybe I should generate a new key or something.
No, I think the key should work. If you have, do you have the private key also, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you have it.
Right there.
And can I ask you to please copy all the way from SSH-RSA all the way through 7B, Bravo. So say no to it. And then cat your public key and...
I can't use my mouse right now.
I know.
Oh, it's over there. I can see it only on the TV.
Oh, okay. You have to mirror it. So from this point all the way to that, before your name starts. Before your name starts.
Oh, before?
Yeah, 7B. Yeah, that, all the way. Yeah, that's the key portion. You can ignore your name and take that. Copy it. Go to Heroku, which is in your Firefox, I think.
That's strange.
And in here, you want to delete the keys.
Oh, actually, you see, I haven't saved it. That's why.
Aha.
But I put it wrong anyway, so let's do one more.
That was not wrong, by the way. It was just a different way of copying the key. If you copy the whole thing, that's okay.
That's okay?
Yeah, that's okay. And just save it now. And now check.
Okay. Okay, got it.
You got it. Okay, so probably not saved at that time. You should come out of that folder. This .ssh folder is not a good folder to be in. You want to come out of that.
Okay.
Because this is where you store keys in this location.
Yeah.
So you want to go cd ... to some other location. Go to home or some other subfolder and work from that folder.
Yeah.
That would be a good practice to go to cd, enter, and then cd type a name.
Oh, I want to get out first.
You can stop projecting, disconnect. Apparently, you still like to project.
No, I press disconnect.
Yeah, it's still projecting. let me eject you. Okay,
Yeah.
I think I did. So back here, our idea was that we want to work not in the .ssh folder, but in a create a test folder like for Heroku exercise. So we'll say mkdir, call it Heroku exercise. And the idea here behind this exercise is to create a sample application and then load it up on top of that platform as a service, which is Heroku. That's our exercise essentially, is to evaluate how would a developer take an application and without worrying about the underlying platform, take it to a pass and scale it out and in, scale it out and in. So we have this folder that we are going to go inside, and in there, work here. So we have our keys set. We have our account login. So we'll be working inside a subfolder like this, for example, with nothing in it right now. So that was the second step about keys, the aspect of creating a key which you already have, and then making sure that you are able to use your keys that you have with Heroku account and connect them to a terminal with your tool belt. Now this particular identity may not be applicable if you're using a machine like directly, as opposed to if you're using a trusty machine that I gave you, then this line is needed. It may not be necessary, so we can skip that. This particular file of SSH config, you need to create this to make it identify this host name with that particular private key that you have. It may not be necessary. If it is necessary, then we'll come back to it.
Okay.
We add keys to Heroku, which we have already manually by going to the browser. This is a command line way of doing the same thing, Heroku keys : add. And then this is also another trusty virtual machine specific account, which is machine-wide default accounts. And then our next step is to install Rails. Rails is that package that we get from Ruby on Rails site, which is here. And that's the download. But a better way to install Rails, if you have Ruby already installed, is to just use the gem. So the idea would be to just say gem install Rails. And that will get us entire Rails platform loaded and installed properly in our terminal. And that would get us started with this segment. Going back into our write-up, here, once the Rails gem gets installed, which I have already installed, so it is quickly finished. It may take some time if you don't have it installed. And then we, so if you're using RBENV, then we have to do a rehash of the freshly installed gems. So it picks up all the gem entries. Otherwise, if you just run Rails without it, it will not understand. Now it did. It picked up the gems. So I may have lots of gems that are needed. And so there are tons and tons of gems that I have for a variety of reasons. But right now we are just using the Rails related gems. So the only this particular gem, which is to help us create a Rails application.
So there are gems, package management system
Yes.
in Ruby?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there is a dedicated website here called Ruby Gems, and that site lists your community gems. So all the people who create gems will post them here, and the gem gets installed through this. This is the distribution channel for gems. This is where gems come from, and so you can search a particular gem here. Let's say Rails. And you will see all the distribution for 4.16 is the latest. The command to install is gem install Rails. And who are the developers here? All these people. And then we have a concept of a gem file to limit a use of a particular gem inside a particular project. Are you familiar with this gem file concept or a strict concept? I think that will be a good discussion point, which is what happens is if you have so many gems and so many things installed, when in a classic development environment or an environment where lots of people and large companies, especially very relevant, where you're developing something, multiple people need multiple different things. Like right now, we have Rails 416, right? Let's see what we got. Rails 416. But I have applications that run on Rails 2 and Rails 3.5 and things like that, right? Some intermediate versions, and I want to maintain them. I want to keep them intact. And so these are older. Now, if I by mistake or by chance I run just a gem update, what happens is it will update the whole gem set, and my application will break because of things might have changed over time. So I want to take a consistent snapshot of what do I have and keep all of them up to date in one consistent shape for a given application. So that discipline is defined in what is known as a gem file. Maybe I think I should write something so to make my illustration clear. So I'm going to take a notepad here and write something. The idea is to contain your development environment with discipline. And so you basically call out that my Rails version should be 4.1.6, and my other gem I might use, let's say XYZ gem, that should be version 2.0, and my ABC gem should be 1.32, something like that. So once I get that discipline defined in a well-contained document, that becomes a recipe for success for a given project. I'm very clearly defining, I need these things at that version numbers, lock it down. And that lock happens through a construct called gem file. So any project you create, if you have this, then it will give you the discipline needed to make your project portable from machine to machine, from people to people, across teams. Without this, you will give a project, say Michael gives you a project, and you said, hey, Michael, you don't know what you're doing. Your project doesn't seem to work. What's up with that? And so Michael says, hey, it works on my machine. What's wrong with you? And that becomes a problem, a problem area where people can resolve it. But it becomes a hassle if you don't discipline yourself. And that's where this kind of a construct comes in. And so it is common in Python, common in Ruby, common in JavaScript, any modern development framework you have, to provide a level of discipline as to what is contained inside my application environment. What are my dependencies? What do I need? And make it happen in a very disciplined manner. And to that help is in Ruby, this construct called gem file.
So in Python, it's which was
requirement.txt.
Right. So the requirements is the same as gem file.
Yes, correct. So requirement.txt in Python that you would have will very, very crisply define what you need, and pip will get it for you and load it up, and then your Django packages and all that will beautifully run.
100%. So then RVM is more comfortable to the virtual environment or virtual env.
So RVM and also RVENV, which is a modern version of a better version. I think I like it. I have bias. I'm biased towards RVENV. I like it better than RVM. Primarily because DHH is behind it. That company that I talked about, 30 or 37 signals. Those guys are behind it. They created it, so I like that. And so RVM, in my opinion, is better, but it's a very subjective debate. There's no question. You can use whatever you like. Having said, what RVM does is gives you the level of choice to implement multiple Rubies at the same time. So you can have Ruby 1.9 and Ruby 2.1 or 2.13, whatever that version is, and all of them getting installed on the same box at the same time. And through RBENV, you define what version do I want to use. So let's see, if I have RBENV installed in here, I'll say, sorry, in cancel, clear, Ruby version. I have the 2.12 version. And let's say what versions of Ruby I have installed already. I have two. I have the system version of Ruby, which Macintosh gave me, and then I have this other version which I chose myself. So if I say RBENV install and say 2.1 and tab, then I have multiple choices come along, and I can say 3, and then enter. If I enter, it will install Ruby version 2.13 right now. On the side by side, 2.12 and system Ruby. So we'll have multiple versions of Ruby. And that gives us the ability to install and play with multiple Rubies at the same time while controlling our development environment to a given version for a given project. So you can have one project with this version, the other project with that version, older projects with Ruby 1.8, newer projects with Ruby 2.13, and all on the same box.
So you have to specify which one you're using in the gem file, or each time you open up a terminal?
Yeah, you can do it in gem file, or you can do it global, just like this, in this file, in the red line. You can define it like I have defined it in that particular file, .ruby version. So I put that entry there. So if I cancel out and say cat .ruby version, that's it. It just said 2.12. That's the version I want Ruby to be used in my laptop, which I have defined. So it does use that by default. Even if I install 2.13, it will still use 2.12. And that's the construct of a gem file, which gives you discipline. Similar to
which version are we supposed to be using?
It doesn't matter. 2.13 is fine. I think the latest is 2.13, and you are installing 2.13. It's okay. So this Rails thing comes like a gem gets installed and gets listed, and then you can use it by rehashing it, like we did. And this rehash concept is again from this company, 37 Signals. This guy, I don't know his first name, but it's this Mr. Stephenson, this gentleman, Sam Stephenson. He works for 37 Signals, and he is the creator of RVENV. And I think he's done a fabulous job, no doubt about it. And that's what we are using right now. The competition is RVM, which is this software. It is also good, but I have no idea how it actually works. I never used it. I'm just biased so much in one way that I don't even venture on the other way. And once you have Rails, Rails is trivially simple, like really, really simple. If you have not used Rails, it is amazingly simple as English language would go.
It's easy to start, but
it's very easy to start. Getting to know
really
that anything is hard that way. By the way, anything is hard.
Yeah.
If you really want to learn and excel, you need to invest time and effort and keep doing.
No free lunch.
No free lunch. No, only free dinner. Right?
Oh.
So that's a way to start. One line starts an app. Very simple. And we are deliberately choosing here to choose PostgreSQL as the database connector, because that's what Heroku uses. They prefer Postgres over MySQL. And that's the logic behind using this extra database choice. And if you don't use it, it will by default use the simplest package. What is it called?
SQLite.
SQLite. Yeah. If you don't use it, I'm going to hit enter right now without it, and let's see what it does. And what it will do is use SQLite. And then we can delete this, come back again, and do it again with PostgreSQL. It will use the appropriate database connectors for appropriate database choices that you give. By default is SQLite. And in Rails 4.1 and beyond, I think this aspect of automatic bundling happens. So they create a gem file for you by definition. So let's examine what files got created. And if you go open up the project right now, you have this My App project. Is that visible in this corner? So in this here, My App. And inside My App, there is app. There are binaries, there are configuration, there is database, and then library, and lots of other predefined stuff ready to use application gets made available. If you go back to our configuration and look at database.yaml, you will find that it is using SQLite gem. By default, it uses this SQLite. But this is not what we want. So we'll completely erase it, like rm -rf and then my app. So it's gone. And what I want is this with PostgreSQL database, and I will do that again. This time, the gem for Postgres will be pre-selected and configuration files created. Okay, make sure you have to have this gem before you install PG. Okay, I think I do not have PostgreSQL gem, so I will install that first before I jump Postgres on my machine. Which in turn requires some more things, apparently. I think on Mac you need Postgres installed to begin with. So brew install PostgreSQL is a step needed.
Yeah, I install.
You need to have Postgres.
Postgres already, and I have
So, no issues, right? You did not have issues. I did, because I did not have Postgres installed. So I'm first installing Postgres, then I'll install pggem, and then it will continue. In the write-up for Ubuntu, it already mentions Postgres installation sequence in here. You should already have Postgres instructions. Oh, they're using MySQL and they're using PostgreSQL. Both instructions are available. In my machine, I did not have Postgres, but now I do, which is nice. So what I will do next is go to that exercise folder again and say install PG. Gem install PG should finish this time. And it did. Sweet. So we have it installed. I'll erase my app again, and then erase my app again, and then do that Rails thing again. So it goes clear like this, and it will complete the bundle also. So what it does, it just succeeded. We have it.
Scroll up. How did you install Postgres?
Gem install PostgreSQL. Oh, sorry, brew install Postgres. Oops. Brew install PostgreSQL. So that will be brew install PostgreSQL if you don't have it, and then this, and then Rails. So Conrad, remember, choose PostgreSQL as you finish your setup.
Okay, I think I just finished the Ruby stuff.
Sweet.
So what's next?
After you've done the Ruby part, you need you have Git already there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you have, I'm assuming the last step is to tell RubyGems not to install documentation for each package. That is important, because otherwise you will waste a lot of time.
Okay.
So this line, the blue line here.
So I did that. So,
okay.
So I've got that web page. Just walk through the rest of the web page.
Okay, configuring it, you have it already. Next one is installing Rails. That needs some dependencies. So we have a Node.js dependency, and then we can install Rails. And then we have RBENV rehash, and then we have Rails up and running.
Okay, so I'm just going to follow that web page to set up.
Except skip MySQL.
Okay, so install Rails.
Yep. You can skip MySQL because we're not using it. So you got the Postgres brew, sweet, and then PG and Rails new app and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Fantastic.
I have my app.
You have your app loaded. Oh, why don't you project and just see. You can join Wi-Fi Cloud Genius, and that'll let you project. Okay, here it comes. So that's Michael's computer. So Command, Shift, and plus. Sweet. Your first app and your My app both are ready, and your bundle is complete, and your bundle is ready to run. So you can maybe roll your app in, and so Rails S will load it. You're doing it the right way, sir. Absolutely. Git is important. Yes, indeed. That's the right way to do it. Every time you make any change, you put it in Git. Absolutely.
Need to log in.
You can create an app on the command line itself. You don't have to come here actually. You can Heroku create app or something like that will be a button. So let's try Heroku and then look for help. It will give us the app help. And the apps, manage apps, Heroku apps create, that should be the command. And a name. But before that, make sure your Git is committed. AM and then some string. Or you need to go inside the app, not here. The Git should be inside the app. So you remove your Git and then go inside the folder and create the Git there. RF. You need to be inside the folder for Git to happen. And in your app is my app. And here you can commit to lowercase am.
Capital if I want to add everything.
I think, yeah, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Maybe I don't remember it right.
We don't need to add it.
You need to add the contents of the folder. It is, I think it is lowercase. So, and then untracked files. You have to say git add all and then do it. Git add dot, and then repeat the previous step. That'll do. So we have git committed. Now we can say Heroku create app or apps colon create and then a name. And the name should be fancy, like unique in planet Earth, essentially. Wow. Back ocean. Okay, must start with a letter and no underscores. Ah. Okay, letters, numbers, and dashes. Okay. See, you got a Git remote created, right? You can type in git remote -v and check it out. So you have the Pack Ocean 2137 hooked up. You can git push Heroku master, and there we go. Wow, you already done it. Awesome.
So it works.
Yeah. I think this thing that you have. Yeah, there we go. It's compiling some assets, and you will soon see what you expect to see in just a minute. So you're done. Now, I think I would strongly suggest that book that you have and follow along. And that book is so helpful. It is amazing.
It sounds like it. All the reviews on it are pretty wonderful, and there's a free version too.
Well, I give you the free link.
Yeah.
The link I gave you is totally free.
Yep.
So use that. Yeah. It's online, and I think the online version is better than the ebook version.
Really?
Because he keeps it up to date.
Okay, yeah.
And ebook he publishes every so often, and the print version is that. What do you expect of a print version?
Yeah, he's a programmer, not a publishing exact company.
So the print version is whatever it is, I don't care. I think the web version is the best, really.
All right, so PostgreSQL's in.
Awesome.
And there's step to install some Rails then.
Sweet deal.
So then final steps.
I think so. Yep. That will get you up to speed on having the environment ready, and then we can begin on the steps. The key thing you would want to see, Michael, is the gem file here in your project. So maybe open up an editor.
So I want to use MySQL.
No MySQL. You have to skip MySQL. You actually want to go back to, instead of place name here, you want to first do some other things like you can actually skip this instruction set, go back to the other item that I have that will be in the classroom.
Oh, let's get it right on there.
You can type classroom.google.com, that will take you there. I think classroom.google.com, and that will take you to the right location. Git push Heroku master. So I think you're now beautifying your page. Wow. Or does it? The page you're looking for doesn't exist, or does it? Maybe it does.
So I went through Classroom, but I'm not sure where I go from
Two steps instructions. Two steps down, you have the right up here, which is where we are right now.
there. Can you search?
I think you did this already, this step. But you need to do this step.
I'm not going to.
You want to install that toolbet, which is one line from this link. Yeah, so that's the but again.
So Ruby is a bin folder for compiling.
Yeah, the compilation you would assume would be so the like a standard executable file on a Windows exe or a bin file in Mac. It's different. it is there is a you might have seen as it pushes to Heroku, you might have seen asset compilation, and what it is doing is taking all the static objects and putting that in appropriate locations on Heroku site.
Okay.
So let's walk through that aspect also. I'll go there and show you. Let me also in my example, what I want to be able to do is see if I have an app. Yes, I have an app, and in that app I have these segments. So let's look at those components in there as to see what we got in there. So here is the app, and inside that app you will notice that there is this gem file. That is the one that we were discussing just a minute ago, which is gives us the discipline of storing components we need inside that gem file. And then there is a command in Ruby in Rails called bundle that will enforce the discipline. Essentially, bundle will package up all the gems needed and necessary to put that in appropriate places, and then provide that level of discipline, the control that is needed. So for example, tomorrow you want to add another gem and call it gem XYZ. I want to use that gem in a specific version. So I'll go like this, gem XYZ, and then specify the version number for that, say 2.0. And then when I save it, all I have to do is say bundle update. It will bundle the update, grab the gem, load it up, make the configuration changes, and also create this lock file. This lock file is basically all the dependencies defined. The name is gemfile.lock.
Those are since the last bundle of
Yes, yes. Okay. And it is important to lock this file in your Git so that when you give a package of an application to another developer or another team member across company or to a partner company, they will know what you have in mind. What did you lock on? And all they need to do is just run bundle update. The gem file will tell them what is needed, what version numbers. It goes into great detail as to what are the dependencies, what platforms being used, and all the components being at appropriate version numbers that the gem file defines, and it locks it down like this. And it grabs the the gems from these Ruby gem location as a remote, and then provides that environment for any application to become easily portable. That portability is important. So right now, if I just save this file as is with this change number 30, line number 30 change, then it will complain because there is no such gem called XYZ. So I want to remove that before or rather not save it. So that was the role of this gemfile.lock and a gem file itself. There is also a git ignore we get by default. So ignores all the git elements you don't need. Then we have our app itself, where we have our assets defined. We can store images, JavaScripts, style sheets, the CSS, whatever we prepare will go. Is that visible clearly or too small? Too small, I think. Is it?
For me, it's okay.
I think so. Okay. And then we define our controllers in this segment here, application controller or helpers or other things we need for the data models and mailers and some views and the layout associated with those views. They all get defined in this application folder. If you look at that tree carefully, you go to the app folder, so CD app, and look at the tree in there. That's how it looks like. So inside the application, the assets, meaning the static images or JavaScripts that you create that will render the pages, or your style sheets will all stay in the assets. And that's the asset compilation that you notice when you say git push Heroku master. That's what is being bundled and sent over to Heroku. Then the logic of the application goes in this folder. So anything you want to write in terms of how the behavior of the application is, there's this model view controller, MVC pattern. And this is the place where you get to write your application code for whatever applications you have. Or if you're working in a team where you're managing or maintaining the applications from an operations perspective, that is very common, at least in this particular course. What we see is we not see too many developers themselves, but people who have an IT background want to help developers operate better and take their applications to the cloud is one of the primary focus. Is that how you see your role, or your role is a developer role, or primarily developer role? I see. Interesting. And is that common with all of you, or slightly different roles?
No, I'm on the provider side of the equation.
So the services providers to the developer teams. That's beautiful, in fact, that we have both types of people in this. And how about you? Is this IT delivery part or services delivery within the company? Or?
I'm with more on Conrad side.
I see. So that's the divide. So dev and ops, if I will. And the goal would be to have eventually, at least in the DevOps space, things are coming together where our idea would be to store infrastructural blueprints and service models, all of that together with code itself inside a Git repo. And so the holy grail would be something that as development needs evolve, their needs from a service delivery expectations also evolve. And so you have your entire blueprint of your application, as well as the infrastructure needed or any platform dependencies needed, all of them checked into a Git commit. And think of it as a combination of developers and operations putting together their efforts to produce point-in-time snapshots that you can take it forward or roll back, depending on how things progress. And that gives the organizational agility which DevOps essentially brings. And up until recent years, developers were doing this agile development, but the aspect of DevOps that it brings is the aspect of bringing operations together along and incorporating the agility that developers had with their development processes, take that over to the services delivery side or the IT operations side. And that together becomes a services team to serve the end customer. And 20 years ago, 10 years ago, it was not like that. You have, even in companies like Microsoft, you have developers produce something, hand it off to the delivery people. It's like throwing an item over the wall, and they don't even talk, with no interactions. It is sometimes still like that in many big companies occasionally, but not anymore. I think those days are going away soon. So people are working closely, both ops and dev working closely together on the services side to produce what customers need. And so this framework that we have essentially helps us in not only putting the code aspects into it, but also put our infrastructural snapshots. Like for a given application, say this simple application, if we need 3 types of servers configured for application delivery and one HA proxy and one PostgreSQL database server on the back, we define that in a chef configuration and store that somewhere in a folder, and all of that commit into a common Git repository. So apart from the code itself, we will have infrastructural decisions also stored inside that commit for every commit to commit. And then we merge as we operate together, and then are able to produce point-in-time snapshots that we can roll back if something goes wrong, and iterate on it rapidly so that customers can give us feedback, if something goes wrong, or maybe gives us the ability to do A to B testing. If how this is work, if we roll out a new feature, like you have seen this on Amazon.com. Sometimes you will see a different style of pages showing up occasionally. Have you seen that thing? Like you go to Amazon.com shopping, go shopping on Amazon site, and you will suddenly see something different. Or at the same time, you will log in and you see one view, and he logs in and he'll see a different view on the same day at the same time for the same product. And they're doing it to us. They're doing what is known as A and B testing or A/B testing. Right? They're using us as guinea pigs and finding out how are you hovering your mouse. They're literally doing that. If you did not realize, they're monitoring us, our motion. How much times do you click on an item? How many days you keep an item in the shopping cart, and you just keep watching its price or comparing other items related to it. And using this information, they're able to even go to the extent of pushing their inventory to places where a particular item seems to be popular. So you have these regional hubs that they have now developed. They will push, like if I like this particular mouse, they'll push inventory of that mouse in region in closer proximity to me. And so when I click a button and eventually end up buying this mouse, they will send a drone in 2 hours, and I'll get the mouse. I mean, that's the extent of predictive analytics that they're incorporating in their sites and services, is to be able to be smart about what customers want, so that they want to reduce the time to delivery and give instant gratification. And that's the way of competing with Walmart for them, also with Sears, for any of these major retailers. They're beating them out left and right. They're growing. At the same time, really, really affordable, even for state of Washington. You have to pay taxes, but still it is good enough prices. I mean, I would say, I think it is good. And they're able to pull it off by literally snooping on us. They're snooping on what we do. I think it is fair game. And they're able to pull these things off by testing out something, A versus B. Is it working out? And the key learning from this is that we can apply in our businesses also, by ability to incorporate testing of scenario A versus B and see what customers are reacting and see how they're responding. And if something goes wrong in this scenario, we can do a Git reversal. Not only on the code, but also on the infrastructure, right? If some different type of infrastructure layout you want to put together, and you want to experiment with some other layout or some other architecture, you can play these games and have it happen with agility by being able to roll back a mistake that might have occurred. You don't know when you're making that mistake that you're actually making a mistake until you do. And so you make mistakes, but on a very calculated, focused target, and listen for feedback. And if something goes wrong, and if Philip complains, your site sucks. Okay, sorry, oops, roll back. You can do that if and only if you have the ability to roll back. Otherwise, it takes forever, and escalations and phone calls and this and that. If you know that you have the agility to roll back and go roll forward with any change you want to make, all you need is a Git reversal. And you push again, and you're live with the previous known good state. If you do not have this code, not only code, but also infrastructure in your blueprint, in your Git, stored in somewhere, you cannot do that. And that gives the agility, right? So do you incorporate such practices, or is it not yet?
It's the culture again.
I know, but culture will change.
Yeah.
How culture changes? Culture changes through learning, doing, finding out what other people are doing,
Yeah.
and then realizing that if we don't do, somebody will kick our butt.
Yeah. So it's the beginning of
the change is beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, the change is good. Change can be slow, but at least people are thinking about it. I'm happy about that. If people are thinking in that direction, I think it's a good change. Change will happen. Change is inevitable, even in large companies. It is going to happen. But small companies and companies like Amazon, big companies like Amazon and Google are doing this, by the way. They do it today.
Yeah.
So you see that in occasionally, a large customer base. If you select pilot customers and just roll out a particular change to them, see how they react, see how they respond, and listen for feedback. If things go okay, you roll it to everybody. If things do not go well, you can roll back. And the same is true with this phone, iOS 6 8.01.
Yeah.
I never got the update. People are complaining left and right. I never even received a notification of update. I've been looking for it. I never received it because they never gave it to me. They're selectively giving it to chosen people. I don't know how they choose, but they are exactly doing that. They did something, and then the fingerprint did not work, or some cell phone signal lost. Oops, roll back. How quickly they roll back, you saw it, right? Quickly they rolled it back. They're able to do it. Now, in a company like Boeing, you would probably not play such games in a Boeing plane, right? In an airplane, you will not do this at all. You will thoroughly test it out, robust. This is like question of life and death. iPhone is an iPhone. It's not a necessity, come on. But people think it's like life and death, whatever. In your case, you might have not just the plane manufacturer, but other aspects that you can probably take some risk. Probably take very calculated risk where you can actually play out these scenarios of, hey, I want to try something new with a selected focused market segment, internal, external, where the risk is worth taking. You want to take that risk and see how it plays. Having infrastructure in an agile fashion gives you the ability to take that risk, right? I think that evolution will come from a frame of reference change. If the more you think about what I can do, what our team can do differently than what we currently do, because tools are available now that enables you to do it.
Yeah.
And what we are just starting off with an example was this Git, and what infrastructure we are using is not ours yet. In this example, we are using somebody else's infrastructure. We are renting it from the platform as a service and taking that as a dependency. Imagine if Amazon goes out of business. Is that a good idea for Boeing to deploy your critical business applications on Heroku? Probably not. And you will not do it. I know. You will probably have your own built-in infrastructure to be able to do that. But even in your infrastructure, you need to have that agility to be able to scale, to be able to switch, to be able to roll back. And that can be possible in your internal infrastructure in a private cloud. You can pull it off. And speaking of private cloud, think of this. And this is Heroku clone on open source.
Interesting.
Flynn. It came out recently, and what it does, let's read the value proposition. The product that ops provide to developers. Right? What's the product that this side of the house will provide to you? Is what this is. Like, this will give you internal Boeing specific open source PaaS. Internal PaaS. Like, you run it on your OpenStack in your private cloud, all internal. Don't have to go outside. Still get the benefit. It is amazingly good. It works. And by the way, on that laptop, you can get this to run. We'll do it. Yeah, we have. I think we have Flynn as an exercise somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. But FLINN, FLYNN, not found. Well, it is here. So just try now, and that's the exercise. The idea is to create a simple application. Not this link. Back. We need to go to the GitHub page for Flynn and download the package and run it. The concept would be to run your own platform as a service inside. Yeah, you don't have to go outside. You still keep total control, like you like to do, like your company likes to do, and I understand it's fair game. Keep it all inside and still get the benefits. And open source can give you that. So this is just one example. There is other example, and that is here. See what it says. Your PaaS, your rules. You dictate.
Is this not open source?
It is open source. So Apprenda is not open source, but you're using it.
Yeah.
These are open source tools.
I think there are people that are using Flynn.
Flynn already internally.
Yeah.
Cool. That's sweet. So this is open source. Flynn is open source, and there is one more open source these days that was not open source below early on was Cloud Foundry. This is open source. It is backed by EMC and now open source. So this is pretty complex, but pretty powerful also. Cloud Foundry, and you can do pretty amazing things with these toolkits. And they are open source, which basically means you download, take it inside, and do whatever you want. There's no dependency on the external world. Take a point-in-time snapshot, take it to party. Yeah, there it is, 4 p.m. So Cloud Foundry and Flynn, 3 examples. If you want, we can do some exercise Flynn. It'll be cool. But right now, let's finish off what we are doing, which is Heroku. So let's get that completed.
So I'm kind of stuck on the stage of getting a Heroku account set up.
I see. Stuck as in.
Well, I signed up and it said sent a confirmation email, but it never arrived.
Change your email address with them and try another email. Try the Cloud Genius email if you did not receive that email. So try some other email address and see if the email comes.
So what I did is, after I do Heroku push, I go and look at the app, it's not running. So I realized I forgot to run rake. So I come back and run rake. What should I do? Should I go and just delete the app? And
yeah, you can actually check the logs. Heroku logs command will tell you what to do. So let's see what it says. So you can on the terminal say Heroku logs. I'll let you project because I don't have it pushed yet. Otherwise, Heroku logs will show you what's going on.
So it looks like maybe email from Heroku is getting filtered out.
Spammed out.
By our,
Try Cloud Genius Mail.
I've got a personal email.
Okay. LOGS.
oh,
So this will basically connect to Heroku and tell you what's going on. So you can Heroku run rake like this.
oh,
You can run rake remotely.
like that.
Install run quick like that. Yes, yes, yes. You can say Heroku open to open the web browser.
Oh, okay. So still have that problem. Do we need to go to the route file to change the?
Yeah,
index?
let's read the steps needed. Let me get back there, and the steps would involve creating a route like this. Like in this example, I'm creating a route and a controller. So generate a controller and create a route. Put an index file.
So this is only when we do it, because when we do Rails new,
Yes. So
it generate everything for us already, right?
not a controller. Not this controller. Not a welcome controller.
Oh.
No, it gives you a blank page. It tells you about the Rails about the Rails environment.
Yeah. Oh, I actually I do make it different. Here's why I show you. So if I do. And I go to that port 3000, it showed me that.
So localhost port 3000. Yeah, this is the environment I expect to see.
Yeah.
But this is what you see with the basic generation of app. This is what you would,
this is on my machine.
Right. When you generate an app and run it, Rails S.
Yeah.
That's what you will see.
Yeah.
Now you need to add a controller to have an index page.
Now, what I'm saying is, This is almost like an index page, right?
It is an
You
index page.
rename it in the route file.
No,
Let me see.
I would rather do it this way.
Oh.
What I would do is this: add a controller
Add a
itself
controller, okay.
and do it the proper Rails recommended way.
Okay.
Of course, you can hack that file and make it show whatever you like.
Yeah.
But I would not hack it. I would actually leave it alone, create a controller like this in step number 9, and then create an index page which shows the time of day, like line number 10.
Yeah. So
If you generate a welcome controller, then the file needs to go inside welcome folder.
So in controller, it's a new file.
Yeah, basically you create a new file with this name, index.html.erb.
Yeah. Okay. Send. Okay. So save as.
There are some tools available for you from a developer perspective to watch the development as you change code. It will automatically track and project your changes in a live browser. Yeah, it's sweet. You want to know about that, I'll give you a link. There's really awesome development tools as you dynamically change code in your text editor and you press Command S and everything happens, including compilation, posting, and rendering.
Local.
On local, everything local. So nothing goes outside. But you put two windows side by side, and in one window you edit, the other window you see the result in like half a second.
That's so cool.
It is cool, and I'll give you links to set it up your machine like that, and you'll have it. I can see you doing it parts of it already by hand, like you're doing it like compiling. I mean Rails S, and so there's a concept called watch. The watch factor, the application will look for changes in your file system.
Yeah.
And run bundle or whatever, and there's just Rails S and invoke the whole thing and open up browser. And the browser will automatically refresh. So you don't even have to press whatever button you do to refresh the browser window. That
really cool.
is delicious. It is really delicious. It works so nicely on Macintosh, you would not believe. You know it. But let me do some homework and give you some links to set it up. So all these things you're typing, or you don't even have to refresh like this button. No need to press. That's cool. Side by side, keep playing. It is awesome. Remember, remind me to email it to me. I'll give you links to set it up.
Okay, I will.
Thank you. So you added the key, I guess. So the line here, the line you just typed, is specific to a virtual machine setup. You are, I think, on line number that you can skip. It is not applicable.
Why is it not applicable?
There are certain gems that I have installed in the terminal to have multiple logins at the same time. in this case, for example, I'm using a personal account in your EC2 machine. There's only one, so you don't need that line. So you just install Rails gem. You need to rehash your gem. So you fix up the Rails gem, navigate. You can just say Rails new, and then give the name. Say my app. Enter for now. Let's give that. Come back to it. And it says override. Apparently, there is a my app already. So you want to say no. You want to say no. Break Control C. Break the whole thing. Control C. Come out and delete that file completely. The my app folder. So PWD, check where you are and completely remove that my app folder, wherever that is. And I'll run it again. Then you cleanly install that app and bundle it and make it ready. And so you have your app taken care of. And you should be able to run Rails S as a test. And if you can go to that Rails S and server, that's it. Oh, you need to go inside the My App folder, sorry. City My App, then Rails S. And this will run the Rails server on port number 3000. So you should go to that browser and check it out, see what it says.
What do you mean by go to that browser?
You
You want me to direct the browser to?
Yeah, sorry, I got it. Sorry for explanation. But yeah, go to that machine and look at port 3000, see what it says. Direct your browser to that machine instance on port number 3000 is the right way to say it.
Okay, so.
The IP address.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm working inside the firewall, so
Aha.
3000.
Okay,
I'm not gonna
so
go
here's the
out.
workaround. Here's the workaround. What you want to do is open another terminal like this, and on the same machine,
You know, it might, I've got,
URL.
I might be able to go out, because I've got socks. No, it's not socks.
I think it is. No, you don't need to worry about it because the machine is open-ended. Even you give me the IP address. Is this public machine or private machine?
The VM is probably.
It's public. I should be able to ping it, right?
You should.
Then I should be able to like go to it from wherever I want. You don't need firewalls.
No, but my starting point is inside the firewall, so I've got to get out through the firewall. Okay. That's the problem. But let's see. So my guess is it won't work, but multiple tries. So let's see. I'll find the host name here.
So
So
it still did not work on the thing.
yeah, still, if I run Rails server now, so I go to on
Localhost.
I shouldn't be seeing this guy, right?
So did you change the route and everything?
I changed the route to welcome index.
Should have a root word before that.
Like that.
Like that in the bottom line there. Root.
Oh, I didn't see that. Right.
And it is lowercase w. I think.
What's the syntax for putting a port number into URL?
Colon.
And where's it go?
Colon at the end. Colon 3000.
Oh, after the
Yes, after the IP address. IP address colon 3000.
Do I need to run bundle install after that?
Yeah. But update.
Update, right?
Just button.
That's good.
Yep. You're good.
What else is, yeah. This is the-
That book has, Michael, the book has instructions on guard, which is what the tool is here, guard. And there's an app on Macintosh that will let you watch and refresh browsers whenever there's a file system change. And that app is free and open source. And there is this other app which is also free, no, which is open source but not free, kind of strange. Open source, but you have to build it yourself or get it from Mac Store for $4. That thing is called, forgetting the name though. It looks like it's a notification app. Have you? It looks like this. Here. What is it called though? Remind me. I'll bring it up. Give you a list of things to set up to enable your development environment in the most delicious fashion you can think of. Did you get the IP address, Conrad?
Yeah, trying to.
Let
You want the IP address?
Yeah.
54.68.49.205.
It looks like a public IP, and that should let me see it. And the port 3000.
Oh, I don't have the Amazon firewall.
Firewalls. Yes, yeah, 3000. Open it up. That should be the problem. So Amazon, what they call it, firewall is not called firewall there.
Yeah, it's security.
Security group. So 3000 is the one to open. That'll do it.
Hello. Oh,
Still on.
okay.
So, so I think um, how you
Tree is not installed, so it's a blue install tree.
we'll do that later. Um, let's walk through it. So now I cannot find the page, even though I add a page called index.html.elb. Where is this go to? That's the question.
So the file
I
stays.
think it's in the controller,
No,
right?
views. The index file goes to views.
Yes, that's what I think. It's
Like
wrong.
apps, app views.
Oh, this one don't allow me to drag and drop.
No, the sublime will not.
Okay.
It'll go to terminal.
File, save.
Save as. So drop down.
So let's go find that directory.
Here controllers, app views, and then welcome, and then index HTML ERP.
Okay. So let me delete this one first. And then bundle in.
There it says.
This is not the.
Go to some rails.
Oh, forgot.
Yeah, it works.
So after that, I
You
did,
commit, git commit push,
get commit. Oh, commit
commit
first.
add first, git step by step add, then commit, then push.
Just dot.
Dot is good. And you need to be committing that next. So you can say minus am and then a comment and then push
Heroku.
master.
That's it, right?
Space
Oh,
master.
master.
And you can watch the log also as you, so it'll tell you what it's doing
Mhm.
until you compile assets, push the application, get ready, make it work. You will notice that it is.
Since I don't touch anything in the database, I don't need to run.
Yeah, you don't have to,
Right.
no need to run rake. If you scroll down, you will find that it is using Rails, Ruby 2.0 as opposed to 2.13.
Right.
Yeah, so you can specify that and declare that I want to run 2.13 and it will run 2.13
Yeah, where can I specify?
right in gem file.
Oh, in the gem file. Okay, yeah. Okay. See. Oh,
There we go. Work.
thank you.
Thank you. Did you find the guard or something?
No, I'm still trying to get the
PG.
yeah, PG problem.
Why is PG running in this? What? You're not even changing into database, are you? Yeah.
I haven't done anything.
No, it should have go.
Yeah.
A PG connection. Let's get the local thing running first. So on localhost port number 3000, did you change the port?
I changed the port.
Let's read it. What is no such file or directory?
Is it running? And it should be. Yeah. It's easier to do that. Well,
PG connection bad. Yep. So let's check the PG gem and it's quality of installation. So gem list pipe PG. See if it is there first. It is there. No. Sorry, pipe grep PG. Sorry. Yes, it's there. Yes, gem is there. Now what I'm going to check. You want to go database.yaml in your Sublime or some other editor. Should be in config. Config, not you. And password is not given. It's there. And local machine is probably using your system password. This looks okay. Let's come out of it and look at your routes and controllers if you have any changes.
I set up the one.
So the controllers in the controller folder inside your app folder. And in here you should have welcome controller. And that is there. Now you should go check views in your app. And you have the welcome file, indexing PHP file. That's correct. Then you should check your routes. In the routes, you have root welcome index, which is correct. Okay. Try bundle. you see? Oh, beautiful, beautiful. It worked on Amazon Cloud. The security groups opened up.
What does rake do?
It rakes the connection to database and sets up any data structures you want to put in the database, initialization, and addition of initial entries in the database itself.
So I haven't done that yet.
So,
That seems weird.
I know.
That's all.
Try a different app. Let me out of this. Create a new folder. So go back a step. That is cd.dot, and in there begin fresh. Very basic Rails, new test. Go to test and run it in mice without Postgres. So that will tell us if there's a Postgres issue. So it will bundle. And then we'll say Rails S in localhost. We should be able to see what Conrad just saw, the basic Rails. Right? That will tell us the Rails is currently set up or not. Now you go to localhost 3000 and you have it. Check the environment here, make sure you have 2.0 JS installed. I think this is good. So now the next exercise I want to do, delete the test and this time create test again. Break and cd.dot kill your test. RM test. This time we create another test, but with Postgres. See if the model succeeds. And it did. Now let's do the Rails generate controller welcome. And then add a file, which is use welcome index, that file. So vi apps use welcome index HTML and write something there. For example, doesn't have to be that complex, just anything. That works. And then you add a route, you go to your config routes, and in fact, yeah, exactly. So one more delete. Just, sorry, it's okay, it doesn't matter, but yeah, so it's like that. Yeah, like that. And then it doesn't really matter. Lining up is not irrelevant. And we say Rails S, enter. And you should see it. PG value, PG problem. Check brew PG, brew info PG. Brew info PG. Oh, sorry, brew info Postgres SQL. Here you have to follow along some instructions. See if your PG is running or not. So launch it. There are launch instructions here. Okay, leave it alone. You do so, open another terminal, command you. And here, now try it. There it says. Something happened, right? The old test one does not exist. What was I'm talking about?
Probably the default role that was created. Uh, Usually, that's what.
then that should not be a problem. That's not a role though. It's a user. I don't know what role here means. It's a new error. Try a simple the kind of brute force, which is to uninstall Postgres, to uninstall Postgres, and reinstall Postgres. How old is your Postgres?
It should have been fresh from 20 minutes ago.
Huh? Then that should not be a problem.
Solid.
Right? Uninstall is really simple. You want to kill that other bit of process that's running. Kill that process. So you got to load Postgres now. The instruction there, which is a line above. Line above that is probably the launch control. Use the arch flags. Break it. Use the arch flag. There's arch flag, then gem install PG. So build it to a 64-bit. And it's installed. Let's go to our test and launch it. Not start. Why? Even if you have a PG issue on your local machine, you can still make it available on Heroku because it doesn't really matter, right? I guess it still it will show up on completely to make it a little dynamic, Michael, and so you will get a little better gratification from test one. You want to go, not this.
Uh,
You're in test one, right?
my app was where I created the Git.
I see. Okay, push. Fine. Whatever. So now it is taking that repository, pushing it over to Heroku as a remote, and it is going to use Ruby 2.0, which is fine. It is now running bundle, and here you see that the database is being configured from your instruction, and it will use the database you told it to, which is Postgres. It is also, it is basically done. So you can say Heroku open if you open it.
Is it welcome?
Now, they're out by default. It's crazy. Delete the app, delete this app, and let it go to the other folder and let it generate a new app with a new name. Let it assign you a name.
Okay.
So go to the test one and this time let it assign a name and let it do its own thing. Aha! Give me money. It says, give me money. Jerks. Give me money. Okay. Who wants your money? I think you have succeeded in your bundle. look like?
Yeah. Back, back here. This one. I did ask them. I see if you use SQLite instead of Postgres.
Right. So you may want to actually erase this app and configure and use PostgreSQL, which is what we have first this time. So you want to take a few steps back, erase that folder, and recreate the Rails app with this time PostgreSQL. Either you have really sharp eyes or I cannot see it at all. I really cannot see it. I just guessed it is there somewhere.
Well, part of it is, it's got a filter to it, so
Yeah.
it's very, very narrow. Field of view.
I can see the train. Back when I used to be in the East Coast, the EMC Corporation, they used to require this.
Yeah, we're supposed to.
But it's strictly required. If you're dealing with customer data and in EMC is all about data. And that is critically important if you're like outside or in a plane.
Right.
You don't want to be slipping on it. This is really generate so what this will generate a controller, essentially providing the application logic for us to then configure the appropriate segment will become like we tell it to tell us the time right now is whatever. And this will generate a controller for us. Essentially creates a bunch of files and it can tell us what files it creates and puts that in the order itself in the appropriate locations.
So one of these days it should finish.
Very nice. I hope this is a decent sized machine, like a medium or small, not micro. Hope it's not micro. Because, yeah, or tiny. Tiny is really slow. Oh, it's a micro. That explains it. You're saving Boeing money, I guess. That's what I am. By wasting time. That was too harsh. Sorry.
Well, nobody said I needed a bigger machine, so I chose the cheapest one.
Sorry.
Increase the size.
Yes. Just occasionally I go random harsh. And sometimes politically incorrect. But it's okay. It's a classroom.
All right, so you zinged Philip, you zinged me, man. You zinged.
Oh, you know what? I'm already using me that. This is younger generation. They sing back fast, and I cannot even deal with them. Right? Younger generation is so sharp. So sharp. It's unbelievable.
Taught that way because professors are getting sharper.
Is it?
Oh yeah, they don't care as much anymore about being PC or not. 'Cause most of them are tenured, or those that aren't realize that they can probably get better jobs, higher paying jobs.
I know. I know.
So
Yeah, PC is okay, but yeah, it's sometimes fun not to be PC. So occasionally it's okay. I think it's as long as it's not too bad, it's
Yeah.
fun.
there's a fine line. It works.
What?
Yeah,
Wait, I think you have a PG problem. I mean, PostgreSQL installation problem somewhere.
yeah. I had an old version of it a while ago. I wonder if that's messing with something.
Old age and treachery will beat the youth in idle skill.
So I have a junior in college, goes to UW, electrical engineering. And that guy is, of course, my son, so he gives me a hard time.
That's the definition of a child, right?
Exactly. So that's what I do every day. He's on the cutting edge of everything. Like
After they get to be about 30, then they become
human. They become human. They humanize. They understand that these are our parents. All that good stuff. Yeah, but he's 21, approaching 21 soon. So third year as a junior in college. He's all electrical engineering and computer science and all that good stuff. Studying nicely and making me proud. Broken. It's definitely broken.
broken, or you just think it's sluggish?
It is very slow. It should have finished by 10 times now. Finish the whole thing 10 times. It's generating a controller.
It should be just copying a handful of files.
2-second operation on a timer.
To read their case, maybe after.
Yes. In fact, we need your voucher, and I will give you. You give a voucher. I think you did not give me a voucher, right? Correct. Do you have a voucher right now?
I'm still waiting on the approval. They said it was supposed to take at most 14 days, and I've not heard anything, and I think.
Well, that's because you're using the exception deal or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. The
So
exception.
can you understand how does the voucher actually work? Because that was a question the dean had. How does it work? You know?
It comes with instructions.
Yeah, there are instructions in the back that either I read or not the dean read. So I think we'll follow through those instructions on bill going in Michigan, Troy, Michigan somewhere. That's what it says. So send a bill to Troy, Michigan and invoice and they'll get reimbursed. That's how it says.
I'm very new to the.
I know, me too.
Yeah, so I didn't read it.
So yeah, the voucher reads like this.
Yeah, it's the first time you said something.
So there are instructions here at the back, which basically says send it to Troy, Michigan, billing address, and that's how it works.
You guys fill in.
That's makes sense. So I think that happens. So I'll hand this off to our office in here and take that next step.
The reason I ask is that if I go here, is that student is half price.
You can claim student. Hey, you want this ticket, I can get it to you. Just tell me, I'll get a ticket.
I haven't made up my mind.
I'll give it to you for free. How about that? You don't even need to make your mind.
That's not about the time. So,
Yeah,
sure.
just write me a short email. Hey, can I please get in for free? And I'll write them an email and then get you in for free. How about that? I did not know you're talking about this. I'll get you this easy, easy like this. No problem.
Few of us already paid 90.
Oh, okay. You knew I'm there, right?
I do, yeah, but I'm not sure if you can get someone as well.
I think I can get you. Definitely.
No,
Most definitely.
otherwise I don't mind 40. But
49 there. You can still claim if you want to claim yourself as a student, you'll buy a student ticket. It's okay.
Yeah, but they will check.
No, they will not check. I will vouch for them. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
I know these guys.
Okay.
I'll vouch for you. I'll
Well,
say yes,
the guy who ran it,
he's right here, John Seekers, right? Yeah, he's right here, not here.
Yeah.
But he is traveling to another startup weekend away.
Yeah.
So I know him.
Yeah.
I can tell him he's my student. And that takes care of it.
Okay.
So
I
no
have
issue.
to think hard.
If you think hard, of course.
A few
Yeah.
of us trying to get me in, but I'm so thin in time.
Time is the essential ingredient here, right? That's the raw commodity we deal with. It's so scarce.
Yeah.
So scarce.
And start learning iOS. And now I'm
Rails.
so
Rails, and now soon you will actually do some chef work. Because this Rails is
Yeah,
just an
it's
example.
right. Yeah,
The key
chef
thing is
is-
chef.
yeah, probably amazing.
Yep. That's what we'll start. When do we start, chef? Next 9th day, right? 9th day. Today is 5th day.
Yeah, this is the.
One, two,
Day
three.
5. Today is day 5. So on the ninth day, we'll start, Chef.
Anyone want water or anything?
We'll come with you, sir.
Uh, it's not bad. But and because of time and the cost.
You just 10,000 month long intensive.
2 months, yeah.
2 month intensive?
Yeah.
Every day?
Yeah.
Quite a commitment.
Yeah. He gave up the job for 2 months and paid $10,000.
Yeah, that leaving the time like more than $1,000 right there.
Yeah.
The time you go away.
But too short.
Makes sense. I think it is useful. It is useful. We used to run this class in Code Fellows. At least we planned for it a while ago,
Oh,
long ago. But then we started at Lake Washington, and then outside in other locations as customers want, like in Expedia, for example.
yeah.
So here is the team, and let me now find out that $35 thing for you. Where is the word? 35.
For 1 month.
I'm not joking.
This is some.
Am I at the right location?
You are in the right location, but this is different.
What is this?
This is 2 day.
It's per month.
2 day a month. Yeah. And you use only 2 day a month.
Huh. So
Yeah.
just 1 month.
And
Then come here.
I don't know people.
So then I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Then this is what I misread.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, for me, I have key card after hour.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Then it is useful.
Yeah, because at daytime I'm working anyway, so I'm not.
Yes. Makes sense. That's what I read, and I did not understand. And I said because I'm on this group helping out uh, people who are laid off from Microsoft, huge numbers these time. So there is a effort going on to coordinate and helping people out. And so that was
Yeah,
this.
I'm with that email. I saw them. I'm trying to help them out. Let them.
Are you also on the same group?
No,
This.
I saw the email somewhere.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Lots of people are trying to help out as to what can be done for people who are recently lost their jobs. There are like huge number.
Yeah.
Huge number. You heard that, right?
I heard that there was something of
18,000 in Microsoft, and out of that, 2,000 here in this month, 2,000 in the prior 3 months ago. So it's happening.
So locally, how
All
many?
local. Local, there's like at least 2,000 like few days ago.
I thought that's include somewhere else.
18,000 total. Microsoft has grown really big, so they're shrinking. Yeah, that's how life is. Unfortunate, but true.
Yeah.
So now we have this welcome page loaded in Heroku. We will. Uh, did you need to add this, or they have taken care of this 12-factor gem, Michael?
didn't
Did not. It's probably not needed. It was needed at that time, and so remove the username field in database YAML if there is one. So
I didn't follow that.
that hey, Michael, this is the issue that you raw the roles issue. This is it probably. It says under a role of my app, since you don't likely have this role in the database, you will remove it. So that's line number 13. If you strike that name, that should run locally also.
Oh, it was the username. That was the problem. Okay. Nice.
So strike it, and that should bring it up locally as well. You already succeeded in Heroku
Yeah, it worked perfectly fine.
because Heroku will ignore that line.
Yeah, there's still something bad with my PG. But it works on Heroku.
Nice. So the scaling part, I think we should try the scaling aspect, which is we just have one dyno right now. We want to get it to 2 dynos. We can do that by line number 20, item number 26, scale your dynos.
Tried it and it failed.
Failed on scaling or failed on application deployment?
Failed on scaling. It says scaling dynos failed. Verify your account in order to change.
Money.
Okay.
Verify your account means money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the freebie doesn't get to go above 1 then?
Yes. 3B is only the first dyno. Verify your account means put your credit card. And if you put credit card, they'll let you scale.
Okay.
They'll not charge you because the total amount of dyno you can consume in a month is 730.
Gotcha.
So you can run 2 dynos for 15 days for free, something like that.
So this is just the command from on the terminal, right? If you want to just do it graphically, just go.
You can graphically also do that. This is from the terminal. You can scale like this.
Yeah.
And so scale back to avoid wastage. You can scale it back. Heroku gives 750 free dyno hours. So you can run two dynos at the same time, would exceed the total monthly allowance. But we scale back, so it's okay. Just for us to be able to scale it up, sorry, not up down, but out and in, we can do that through this method. And if you realize what Heroku is doing, is give you a load balancer up on top, like HA proxy. You heard me say that last time, right? HA proxy on top, and then multiple application servers, essentially in this case of dynos, and then a PostgreSQL database at the back end. So it gives you that infrastructure already. So you don't need to depend on any service personnel internally. You don't have to maintain your infrastructure. They'll do it for you. All you do is git push Heroku master and party, and keep developing your app.
Just to pick them.
I just pay them $33 a dyno every month, and then it'll be okay.
I tried to ping my app, but I got unknown host. It wasn't. Maybe it's not propagated. Or no.
DNS propagation, or
Yeah, maybe. Would that cause that?
no? So if you have it, can you open it here in the browser already? Then ping should work. Manually ping it like this. Ping whatever. Ping ping that domain name. It should ping. Does it ping?
No.
Huh. Is Heroku getting smarter?
It must be.
They're ignoring pings probably, because I'm like pinging through pingdom.
Well, it's still on the documentation, so it should work, right?
Let's see. I'm going to pingdom. Did I tell you about pingdom last time? So I'm going to see what my machine is getting pinged and what. So I haven't logged into pingdom for a while, but let's see what it does. So it is pinging a site here, and this is the site, my brother's site, and it is, see the reports. It's a 1 minute ping frequency, and test check. Okay, from Portugal, 705 milliseconds. So it is pinging.
Ping URL.
Also, the free dyno, they allow us to point our custom domain to
Yeah, CNAME. Yeah, yeah. You have to manually assign a CNAME in your terminal. There is a command to install for domains here. Manage custom domains. You have to tell Heroku what name you will use.
Yeah.
And then you go create a CNAME record in Route 53 or some other domain service. Put a canonical name alias. And then you tell Heroku, I'm going to use my own domain name. And then you have a site with your name. And it is free. Free dyno, one dyno. That will work.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it is decent. That it is absolutely decent for small business. Not at all applicable to Boeing, but just saying.
And the second tier is $30 a month. It's not bad at all.
Second tier is okay, but the problem comes in startups. So what startups will do is, as you grow, you essentially develop on your Mac, and then you push it to Heroku. You have one instance, and I'll test it out thoroughly and all good. And then you want to scale. You put another dyno, maybe 2 more dynos, and that's fine. But more customers you get, now you want 8 dynos, that becomes more expensive over time. You want to keep scaling, they'll keep. It's a linear curve. $33 every month adds up. At some point, it becomes expensive. That even startups will say, you know what, I don't want it. I would rather run my own platform. I would rather run my own infrastructure in Amazon than deal with Heroku once they grow up. Not still startups. Once they grow up and
Well,
they're
when they
really
grow
huge,
up,
yeah.
yeah.
When you have real customer base, huge,
You're
hitting your
talking
site.
about, so you're talking about millions.
Yes,
hit,
yes,
right?
yes, 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 yes.
Anything less than million is probably still okay.
Yes.
Go to.
Yes. So when you have a real startup making actual money, what typically startups do is take control of their infrastructure and then build it yourself and control it tightly, like I was describing. Put that in some kind of a infrastructure as code. So you define your infrastructural blueprint, put that in some code, and check it into Git commits together with your code, and then roll that together.
Yeah.
As opposed to taking dependency on anything else. Just tightly control the whole thing yourself. Could remain on any public cloud, that doesn't matter, but you control it as opposed to getting dependency on Heroku. You don't know what they will do with this shell shock bug that came out yesterday. You heard of it? And so if you have control over shell shock, or if you have control over your infrastructure, what you can do is patch the bash package through Chef in your entire infrastructure, and you're secure. One line of code change, do a git commit push, and run Chef, and you have your infrastructure updated and prevented from bash exploitation. Takes 2 minutes, effectively. If you have the infrastructure set like that, it's just another commit and another push. And you have updated the entire infrastructure and all the bash vulnerability is taken care of, right? But the benefit can only be accomplished if you have the discipline to do it. And organizational level discipline is needed, which is hard to pull off, at least for big companies like Microsoft or Boeing. It will be hard, but it is happening slowly. It will eventually happen and complete. So yes, get your custom domain, maybe put a CNAME to it, and mount it on Heroku and write your Rails app or write your JavaScript app. They also support JavaScript, by the way.
Yeah. So, oh, yeah, okay.
Node.js.
So it's not just Node.js.
Yeah, Node.js apps. So you pretty much similar configuration here, except you will, instead of Rails, you will write JavaScript and Node. And Node applications can be really small. They're not, the Rails is big comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
Node server can be like few lines of code and you're done. And you can load that up in same Heroku, just like that, just like you did here.
So recently we looked into parse.com more because the ability to have JavaScript only and also the mobile as well. That's why I haven't looked at Heroku for a long time.
If you're looking at parse, you should also look at Meteor.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I never looked at it.
Meteor is what it does. You should watch the screencast, like a 1-minute video here. You should watch that at some time. But what it essentially does is gives you the ability to use one language on the client side here in the browser, on the back end with the server, which is what you have in the Meteor server.
Yeah.
And you also use Mongo database, not only on the back end, but Mongo locally in the browser, which is beautiful because now you can see dynamic changes flying on the wire. And it's just delicious. You need to know JavaScript thoroughly, like in and out. You can use this. Pretty darn good. A new modern way of developing applications funded by this guy, who is the co-founder of Facebook.
Yeah, I just saw his, he went to teach a Stanford class. Just saw his video. It's pretty good.
Yes, he's a good guy, and I think he invested more than $12 million on this open source project.
Okay.
I would never heard of so much money for an open source project. Just he likes it apparently. It's good.
It's been out for a little while too.
Yeah, they're version 9.3 today.
got all of them.
Very cool.
All JavaScript or just choose any language?
No, it is strictly JavaScript. It is JS. I think this is one of the best frameworks for JavaScript deployment and development. The other one from Google is this thing called, what's its name? Google JavaScript.
Angular?
No, not
Oh no, Angular.
Angular. And there are so many other frameworks in JavaScript that it is almost mind-boggling. And their brother has their own framework.
Yeah.
But these are some of the good ones, like Angular is good. Backbone is very popular. Walmart uses it for all their stores. Sears is trying to use some JavaScript framework, but it sucks. You've seen the Sears site, how bad it performs.
Which one?
You've seen the badness?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're using. And Microsoft has also their own JavaScript implementation and a framework to go along, which I don't even want to try. I think Meteor and Angular is good enough. So did our scale-up work yet or not yet?
Try because I don't have.
You don't want to give them credit card,
Yeah.
which is fine. Fine. Don't have to try, but and if you want to run this thing in production, you want to change the web server to this, which is not the Unicorn. This server comes with default.
Yeah.
If you're running in production, you want to get to the other server, which is available with Heroku. It's another open source product, but it is not just for testing. It's actually live production usage.
They have engine.
This is a Rails specific server, so you want to use this instead.
This one.
Yeah, you want to use this, and you want to add that one line in your gem file, and then bundle,
Okay.
and commit, and push,
Yeah.
and done. And you want to put this configuration file to make Unicorn work. So there is a config file here if you want to go that route. And you can automate, like, using this gem Foreman. You can manage your production server again through terminal, through Foreman start, and then deploy and check logs and open in the browser. This time through production server.
Yeah.
There are other platforms available as a service that you may have heard of, which are not specifically Railsy, but a common one from Amazon Web Services that you may have heard of is Beanstalk. Did you see that last time? You mentioned Beanstalk.
We talk about it.
Yes. Then there is a new one coming out from Red Hat.
OpenShift.
OpenShift. There is tremendous amount of new embedded in this, and it's conceptually very similar. You log in here and run any kind of app for Java or support or concept is very similar. You have your app loaded up in Git, and you hand it off to them. They'll run it. And in case of OpenShift, 3 dynos. There's else, but 3 are available for free. Just to compete with and it is slow. I click the X button. Okay. They're using some or open DNS. Name cheap. They call it. That's the name used. So you get up to 3 gears, which is similar to dynos. Get more if you pay. And in that account, you can. Why is it locking every time I try something? I have no idea what is going on. Just kick me out. Maybe it did not. In terms of in terms of your interest in platform, explore platform like Flynn or DEIS or the open source type. So you want to experiment with these commercially available services. What's the interest level? We can go that route if you prefer something one versus the other, or you.
We have an OpenShift installed in
Yeah, we have also
California.
Internally.
Yeah,
Just
just a small.
small experimental system.
So is there
I
a
think, for me, I think I got a good grasp of it because I mean, knowing that what's good out there is it's okay. I don't need to know all.
yeah, you don't need to try everything, but but I'm giving you the option is to choose what you want us to try together. If we can do that, because I'm set up to do whatever you like.
So from an enterprise perspective,
Yeah.
if we think about public cloud platforms and service environments, probably the ones that are most likely to encounter is likely Azure.
Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
the next one.
Yeah. Yes, so we can experiment. Do you have Visual Studio and .NET and everything set up?
No,
Not on a Mac. But
No, I don't.
you do not, huh?
There's a developer license, which is
yeah. So I got my license, but I haven't loaded it yet because I'm pushing myself out of the
So here is an idea that I'm not sure you know this or not, but it doesn't take money to get software from Microsoft. All it takes is this.
Facebook.
It doesn't require money up. It's a commitment to pay Microsoft $100 at the end of 3 years. And get all of Microsoft software, proper legal Microsoft software.
$100 after 3 years.
3 years. And this is legal. This is a Microsoft product. And
How much after 3 years?
huh?
How
Nothing right now.
No, after 3 years.
100.
Just 100.
100. I think that's if you read the fine print, that's what it reads. If the last time I read, that's what it said. Pay nothing right now. Pay $100 at the end of 3 years and get all of Microsoft software legally, including license, EULA, keys, and everything. Download MSDN permissions. It is available for businesses because they want businesses to adopt it, and that's the service. It actually says, let's read the value proposition. It's a free program. See, not even saying $100. It says it's a free program. Software and tools to build applications, technology to get into the cloud. It is free, not even 100. It's gone. I think 100 is gone. If it was 100, they will say it up front right here. They will say it. We need $100 at 3 years down the road. They did not say that. They changed it probably, which is even better. So you sign up here, and you get all of Microsoft software legally on your laptops, wherever you want. It is awesome.
Does Visual Studio still not run on OS X? Yeah. Pretty fun.
Yeah, I don't know what's, well, maybe it's just like put a VM on to put Windows 7.
Yeah, you can. That way, VM, you can do anything you want,
Yeah.
right? You can, if you have a VM, you can basically pull off any trick.
I can get my PC laptop here, but that thing is just so slow. But
So from a Microsoft MSDN.com, let's see, MSDN downloads.
actually, we don't need a full.
You just need the
can
Express version.
Express edition.
Well, Microsoft OS and Amazon, and it's all there.
Tool available for free download, and that's what you can install it right on a Windows machine in the Amazon cloud. Totally works.
So that's without even doing this part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the starter version is free. Even the full-fledged version is free for 3 months, which will get us through the training program easily. So that is not really an issue. Installation and legally getting software is not an issue.
Yeah.
Microsoft is nice.
I think so. At least in this respect, I like that. The fact that they have resources available for community usage is really nice.
Yeah, I'd probably bring my work laptop.
You already have Visual Studio.
And so here I have all these tools, all these downloads available legally, that you can download anything you want, like Windows with Update or Windows Server, SQL Server, all of Microsoft software. Just download through the membership you get, like this Sparklight membership. This is to all the products you get. So you can get at least one key for any software you want. And let's say you want Windows Update, you click there and you download the ISO file. Like here, you get product key and your download link, and off you go.
Yeah, I can load it in my work machine too, but what happens if you run into my connection and everything outside because it's locked down?
And that's a challenge, I think, in a lockdown machine. But if you have another machine, this will work. So we can then go to Windows Azure and play out the scenario, which is very commonly encountered, which is in corporate enterprises. People use this. People use Apprenda with Windows Azure, and that's common. And this has, Azure has free trial available. You can try that and give this a run. 1 month free trial and $200 to spend on Azure services. Try it now. And I have an account already, apparently. So I'll just log in, I guess. I think slow, but logging in. Why is it slow? Compare this with your Amazon cloud. Will be a good comparison. Services and the variety of services you find, compare and contrast the completeness of service offerings.
Did you say when is being used?
Also, I was looking up a few different web servers 2 weeks ago in the Boeing search,
Just internal bug search.
internal Boeing search. I saw and like a few others.
I'm searching through ESATs and I'm finding information.
So I should also preface, I don't know if that's an actual way, but it seems that if I want to see if something is being used in towing, I go to the internal search, and if I find something there, somebody is probably using it.
So I tried a phone search and I'm not seeing Flynn first page.
Yeah, if you have Flynn already installed internally, you can probably use that instead of setting up your own Flynn.
Yeah.
It's probably a whole lot easier.
Sounds like it's,
Yeah. If you want to set up Flynn, we can do that.
I wasn't directly searching for that. I was searching for something else. Python.
Well, since we switched to the Bing search engine, the search isn't as great as it used to be.
So you found
we
enough.
used to have a Google search engine. It was great. And somebody had a brilliant idea to switch to Bing, and it's been.
So you found a different way of wasting time, is that? Oh man. I've said this to a Microsoft VP. He made me change my engine from Google to Bing. And I said, what do you want me to really do? Waste time? And he said, okay, go back to Google.
Have you ever met the guys that work on Bing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're doing a job, man. Yeah, they're doing their job. They're really doing it. The only problem I see in that team is that the goal that they have is Google parity. That's not what you should do. Think different. Think something unique. Be different. All you do all day long is Google parity. You're not going to get anywhere.
Right, because you're never going to be better than.
Yeah. You're not. If that is your stated goal, the whole division is running as Google parity. Cut the crap. No.
It's hard to maintain motivation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'd be most curious about. How long have they been there in that kind of defeatist?
Forever. I mean, I've seen like this ever since I'm seeing that. And I should not say we anymore, but that division has lost so much money that I cannot even account for. And it's published in 10K reports and Wall Street reports on Microsoft. Well,
when I was on my first job there, we were using Netscape, and the manager saw it and said, if I see you use that one again, you get fired.
Really?
It's come out with Google, but Netscape is our running our head, there's no IE3.
yeah, makes sense. So if you want to go Flynn, the idea would be to install a product called Vagrant. Are you familiar with that or heard of the name?
I heard of the name, but never know what it is.
Okay. So maybe there are certain dependencies needed
That's
to make it happen. It is a Ruby wrapper around VirtualBox.
Okay.
So if you have VirtualBox running on the laptops, what you need to do is to install Vagrant. It will give you ability to manage your virtual machine, VirtualBox, using Ruby language. And what it boils down to essentially is, from a development perspective and DevOps perspective, is like this. I'm going to take 2 minutes to describe it. Open this file. It's called Vagrant file. And in that file, you define what kind of infrastructure I need from an individual developer perspective. So just like you have your gem file define your requirements for your Rails application, just like your requirements.txt will define your Python environment, you also define your infrastructure requirements in your laptop in a Vagrant file. You don't run your applications in your laptop directly, but instead you run it inside a virtual machine. So that way you get to define the environment itself inside a VM, and you specify what goes in that VM in a VirtualBox like this.
Yeah.
So this is the definition file for Vagrant, which will in turn spin up a Vagrant box, which is a VirtualBox machine, and then bring it up with all the dependencies needed to run your app, and then load your app on top. What this boils down to is you can give your Git repository from developer to developer to developer. And all of them will be able to maintain consistent environment for application development. Like right now on his laptop, PGs doesn't seem to work. We have an issue. If you take his laptop out of the equation, the application seems to work. So you push it to Heroku and it worked there. Similarly, if you push it to a VirtualBox virtual machine through Vagrant, it will work even on that box, even though PG is broken for some reason. And so he can then put all that infrastructure and code in a repository and put it on a GitLab, and you download it from GitLab, and you run this command for Vagrant. You can get his exact identical environment up and running in 10 minutes on your laptop without having to worry about anything else, whether PG works on your machine or not, whether you even have Ruby or, well, Ruby is needed, but whether you have some other things or not at all, you don't need any gems that are needed by the application, specific to the application. You don't need. And you can still get to the same point that he has, and you can get to root cause any issues that you're running into together and collaborate very effectively. And when you're done, you can hand off that to your other team that will maintain that environment and take the same environment, put it in the cloud. And it runs there exactly just like it does on your laptop or his laptop. So that's the benefit Vagrant brings to an operations perspective in the development environment. And that Vagrant is, there are lots of talks that I have given and some write-ups that you will see on my website. And this is the application, which is needed for us to run Flynn. Because Flynn will run inside VM. So the question I have is, which direction do you want to go next? Do you want to go the direction of Azure, or do you want to go Flynn? Or do both? I'm open to doing both. So for Flynn, we need virtual machines to run, and the virtual Vagrant will, what it does is installs an ISO file, a VBox file from somewhere, and grabs it and puts it in a VirtualBox, and then starts it up, loads your code, loads your application, and run it up, bring it up with all things needed, all the platform requirements, LAMP, Rails, God knows whatever. Builds it up together, and then add your application on top, and you have a complete solution inside a container of Vagrant Box.
What the difference between this and Docker?
So Docker is I should not use container so vaguely.
That's why it makes
yes.
me.
Very good point. I should not use the word container. I should call it VirtualBox.
Okay.
Yes. So the distinction, a one-line distinction between a container and a virtual machine would be that a container does not, it basically isolates an environment inside an OS. You don't have to repeat the operating system so many times. So in a virtual machine, you have each virtual machine needs to have its operating system. In containers, you don't need to have operating system because the underlying operating system will service all your requests. All you need to worry about in the container is just the applications. And Docker is an example of that. So it's very lightweight. So if you want to copy a virtual machine from this machine to that machine, it might take you 5 minutes. If you want to copy a container from here to there, it will take 2 seconds. Because the files are really small, it's just the app. They just easily copy over.
But we will cover Docker.
Yes. We'll run Docker inside some virtual machine, because I think we are in this particular class. You will have to run it inside Vagrant. Vagrant will be inside VirtualBox.
VirtualBox.
So you're set up with VirtualBox already, right?
No, I copy over, but I haven't.
You haven't started it. So we'll be good with that. Now on the next time when we want to meet, do we want to talk about VirtualBox and building up toward that direction first, and then at subsequent time we cover Windows Azure, right? Yep. Okay. We'll do it that way. So we decided to not give our credit cards to Heroku, which means we are not able to scale, and that's okay, right?
That's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I think that's okay. As long as you get the concept of scaling, we are golden. We don't need to give credit cards and identity verification, social security number and all that. But we need to when we need to. So when do we meet next on Monday, right? Monday and Wednesdays, and on the same location until there is no change. As of now, there is no change. So we'll keep going there.
So Friday, next Friday, here again, or over there.
I think we have a booking here, right? So we should use that.
Reserve this
Yep,
one,
yep.
that's right.
Let's keep that. Let's use it. And we have the 29th is when we meet, right? And then first we meet,
Okay.
and then on the 3rd we meet here,
Wait, oh, that's October, okay, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Did I confuse?
No?
No.
It's all good.
Sweet. I think the internet here is better than the internet in Redmond.
Oh, here, there's sometimes it's spotty today. Recently.
Today is very good.
Yeah, it's good.
Today we had no issues.
So that printer there is offline, cannot connect. Usually it works, so something's not right.
Okay.
But today it's good.
Yeah, today the internet is very stable, and download speeds are also okay.
Yeah, the internet here is run by Western University.
So is this
Northwest.
is this facility renting space from Northwest, or?
Yeah, they rent it until the Northwest move out. I think they want to renovate it after that.
Okay. Makes sense. So Conrad, do you want to expand your machine to make it bigger? That would help.
Oh, the MND?
Yeah, make it bigger a little bit so it'll help. Take a gig of RAM, that'll help, I think, roughly.
Yeah, so I reserved the third.
Awesome. So like we briefly mentioned, containing your development environment and provide discipline through Gemfile. Contain your infrastructure through Vagrant file. Same concept. And these files will give us the repeatability needed to have my thing work on my laptop, also work on your laptop and everybody else's laptop across the teams. And that level of discipline. And so you basically put your gem file right in the same folder structure. In here, somewhere there'll be an entry here called Vagrant file.
Good.
Put that here, and then go in that folder here and say Vagrant up. It'll bring up the entire machine environment and load up everything needed. Load this app in there, and you are done. That's the idea behind Vagrant. Now, Vagrant is a Ruby wrapper around VirtualBox, so you have a VirtualBox already loaded up, and that should, this file will help you bring up the machine.
So how Flynn come to play here?
Once the Vagrant box is loaded, then we will install this demo environment that is inside a virtual machine.
Oh.
And in that virtual machine, we will have something like create a sample application. It's a ready-made application we'll use. It's a JavaScript application. And we'll go inside it and we'll create like Flynn create example. It's very analogous to Heroku create app. Very, very analogous. They basically copy the constructs from Heroku and basically duplicate it. It's open source. They do. And so then you do git push Flynn master, identical, right? And then you scale, Flynn scale web equal to 3. Again, very identical. And you can see it in a browser. like CURL browser. This is a browser application, or with curl, in one of these two. And then you can see the logs that you just scaled from 1 to 3. So 3 instances of Flynn process running. And it scaled your trivial application, and you can listen on logs and run it interactively if you like. So once you have the environment set up, it is very trivial and almost analogous to what you just saw in Heroku. And so is DEIS, and so is everybody else, because Heroku has set a standard. This is how things work. And so everybody is trying to follow along, create their own open source implementations of what Heroku did, or what Engineered did. You might have heard of this name, Engineered. It's another so many of them. It's good because it is relevant to Boeing's case, where you want to control it. You go inside in your firewall and you do whatever you like, and contain your influence from outside, and still get the benefits. Why do you smile?
Well, I was thinking like all this open source thing, like for example, Linux, right? Then you have Red Hat.
Yes,
See, we still have to work with Red Hat because we want some support, right?
I know. And I think that
And I was smiling because, well, there's Flynn and stuff, right? There might be companies spawning up just to support it.
yeah, Flynn is a company.
Because a company is
Yeah, Flynn is a company. They give their product to open source in the anticipation that big companies like Boeing will need service someday,
right. Yeah.
and they'll call them for help. And that's the bet. That's the bet they're taking. That's how most open source based companies do. That's the business model. If you look at Chef,
Just like Chef.
yeah, Chef is a company in Seattle.
Yeah.
This one, Get Chef, and what they have done, the website changed completely, but the idea is you have open source product, and this company is behind supporting everybody. That's how they make money. It's providing support as opposed to providing product.
Yeah.
Same what Red Hat does. You provide support, give the product away for free, you give services.
Yeah.
That's the open source business model, is provide services, which is nice. If you know what you're doing, do it yourself. It's all free and freedom, open source.
Yeah.
But if you need help, we are here to help. That's the key business model. That's the message that these companies are trying to give. So Flynn.io is a business,
Okay.
and all these customers, right? Boeing is not listed, but that's okay. Probably it's NDA, and so is DEIS.
Like Century Link is pretty open to a lot of new stuff. A lot.
Well, they have a bunch of different business units, right? They're a cloud provider themselves.
So CenturyLink Cloud is an interesting play from a really bad company. I don't know why I do not like Quest, but they have a very good piece of software that they got acquired. They acquired Cloud Foundry implementation of platform as a service. It was an Oregon-based company that they just acquired, and that's what this cloud is. They're calling it Panamax. And the CEO, where is Panamax? Product. AppFog. That's the acquisition. So this was AppFog is an implementation of Cloud Foundry that I just mentioned few minutes ago. Open source product. Cloud Foundry was used in AppFog. It's an Oregon-based implementation. They used to give like 3 dynos or dyno-like structures for you for free, and you can create your own applications and load it up with AppFog. CenturyLink Quest bought them, and they are now calling it something else, but it's the same product, which is what they want to tout. And I think product is. That's why I call it. It's a great product from a bad company. Best. That is almost Comcastic. You're smiling. It's exfinitely Comcastic. Xfinitely. let me say that I think Xfinitely Comcastic.
I hate their support people.
I know the last customer survey that somebody did, like, who's the baddest customer service of all? This company came after the IRS.
Oh, jeez.
You know what that means?
Yeah.
It means that you would rather get audited by the IRS than stand in line for Comcast.
I wonder where the DMV is.
I think they're better. They're better. But that is too much company bashing. I think I should just stop. But I'm talking like a consumer of services, and I feel the pain, just like you probably do. Cool. So thank you.
I hate all the telecom providers. They all bother.
Well, Verizon is not bad. I mean,
I've never dealt with them, so I can't.
Yeah, me neither. Because I cannot take them because I need to travel abroad and it doesn't work abroad,
oh yeah.
right?
No, I mean the landline.
Yeah, landline I don't even have. Never had it. Never had landline.
Google Fiber, though, it's pretty wonderful for home use.
But do you have it?
My parents do.
So there is such a thing, huh?
Yeah. In
Okay.
Kansas City, I got to use it for about a week. It was the best internet week of my life.
Wow.
Nice.
So I have the Verizon Fios, which is
That is decent, is what I heard.
fiber as well. Most of the time, I found out that when the problem is the router, right, between our device and the router, just the wireless cannot handle too much, and after that, it can handle okay.
Right. Wired connections. So the newer technology in Wi-Fi routers is AC.
Yeah.
That's the one I deployed in my home, AC. So this is a retired router from my home.
Oh,
And
I
so
need
this
to
doesn't
buy
have
a new
AC,
one.
but it's a good one, but doesn't have AC.
it's like dual tri-band or something like
Yes,
that
yes,
coming up.
yes. They are available $300, I think, on Amazon.
Yeah. Wait,
Pretty good,
go down
pretty
a
good.
bit.
And this phone has it.
Yeah.
AC router. The Macs have it already, so you can get good performance.
Yeah.
Gigabit Wi-Fi performance. Cool.
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to go to the store and look at the phone yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna touch it first before I buy.
Then go ahead and touch it.
I touched this one already, but not a big one.
The big one is too big actually. It's hard, and it is malleable.
That's what they say.
So they say that is correct. And people are just, if you make a wafer thin item, why would you sit on it? But people are doing it. I don't know why.
Seems like Apple was kind of almost a little defensive in their public statement.
Yes, and I think they have to be because it is, it's billions of dollars of loss if you go down $3 or $4 in stock price.
Yep.